everybody. My name is Salsabila Asti, NPM 019050047. I will present my discussion entitled Pre-Service Mathematics Teacher Narrative Failure, Stories of Resilience. Preliminary. Mathematics is already known to some people with material that is difficult to understand. Therefore, many students experience failure while studying it. This concept of mathematical failure has been incorporated into important discussion in mathematics education research. In this article, the author discusses the view of several pre-service mathematics teachers. The people who are the subject of this study have different points of view about mathematics. It also discusses how the subject interprets or deals with failure they may be experienced. This article report on an exploration of a subject that will be narrated from the failures and experience, but also reveals some aspects of resistance to failure. The next is discussion. The first, failure. In a mathematical context, Carson and leaders saw that the attribute of success and failure differ different cultural contexts. According to Zeldin and Paraya's individual belief about their mathematical abilities affect the choice they make, the amount of effort to make, their resistance to failure, and others. If a student has high personal standard and expectation, the student will likely interpret the unwanted experience as a failure. Students' distrust of their own abilities is likely to lead to failure. The next is the failure and mathematical identity. Identity acts as a self-fulfilling make in determining learning and success or failure. Failed attempts to solve math problems or failing math exam are easily attributed to talks such as I failed or I'm not a math person. Teachers define themselves in terms of their abilities, the performance. The next is resistance to failure from the individual. Mindset research on psychological resilience in response the stressful situation in dealing with people is extensive. And teachers' resilience is not an increasingly discussion topic in educational research. Lee and Johnson Wilder define resilience as a positive attitude towards mathematics, so that it will allow students to continue learning despite obstacles and difficulties. Yeager and Dweck explain that what makes students more or less resilient are the following mindset variables. The first, goals. Second, belief about effort. Third, attributes of failure and learning strategies adapted when facing subtract or failure. The next is method data collection. The data for this study were collection in deductive course for pre-service teachers and various disciplines such as mathematics, history, engineering, and others. The narrative used in the research are Miko and Tina narrative. In this case, the subject's name has been matched. The short story Miko. Miko had a hard time when she was in high school, and it can no longer maintain its work with the same learning approach. To overcome this, Miko lowered his expectation from the story. Miko anxiety, disappointment, and other unpleasant emotion associated with failure. He also argues the failure may come with a greater emotional toll. The next is short story Tina. According to Tina, the weakness she felt was a way to understand the results or factor that were met by students who thought mathematics was difficult because he didn't have it himself. And now Tina is struggling to understand why students. Find mathematics and science challenging. And he said, although Tina spoke of failure from teacher's point of view, she also distanced herself from it. The last is conclusion. For Tina and Miko, failure is very personal phenomenon linked to their own goals and hopes, as well as the destiny take for themselves. For many, a failed test is a failure, but not with Tina and Miko. They always understand failure is a situation or circumstance when what we prefer experience. A success can no longer be exceeded without having to move forward. According to Miko, failure is not the final decision. It can always be improved. Likewise with Tina, he evaluated his failures and realized that to be a good teacher, one does not need to be successful at the desired level. Strategies for coping with failures should interpret self-examination of goals and managing expectation. From this story, we understand that being good at math in school and deciding to pursue it a career does not mean no failure. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.